Hello, Merry Meet. So this is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be a first impressions video with about a role-playing game. So I have this friend who always gets beta tests on role-playing games, and I'm then thinking about tabletop games, not the computer gaming types. So, and apparently he knows the right people in the role-playing game creation community. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Anyway, it benefits me because then I usually get to join in and play. So the game we're testing this time is the new edition of Mutant Chronicles, and it's third edition, I think. So I thought I would make my first impressions video. Now before I start, they have gone to Kickstarter now, and I'll post a link to the Kickstarter down there in the description if the game seems interesting to you. So yeah. Now, Mutant Chronicles is a game that I would generally not have bought myself because there's a lot of role-playing games out there, and it's a bit more on the, what shall I say, combat side compared to what I usually prefer. I'm usually either a modern fantasy, urban horror type games or straight up fantasy games, while Mutant Chronicles are dark science fiction. If I were going to describe the game, it would be like if you took Judge Dredd and Warhammer 40,000 and sort of merged the two and then made it a little bit less over the top. That would be a good way to describe the game. So it's set in the future. World has the Earth has become uninhabitable, so people are living on various planets in the solar system. And I don't know if it was beyond, at least I didn't speak of that in the game session we had. We had 2 game sessions, and yeah, so it's sort of it's old technology, but nobody really knows what it does anymore. It's that kind of vibe to it, heavily mixed in with Judge Dredd. So, what are my thoughts about the setting? I like it. It lot of I do play a lot of Warhammer 40,000 role-playing games, and the problem with those is that they are so extremely over the top. I mean, there are people that have cybernetics there that it is just not plain not possible to survive them, and it's so extremely, and that's part of course, the charm of the game as well. But sometimes you would like something that's dark science fiction, but a little bit more down to earth, and that would be somewhere where Mutant Chronicles lies. Now, on the other hand, I do think the setting is a tad bit generic. There's a lot of settings like this. If you're interested in the settings, however, there is a Mutant Chronicles movie. So, and it came out quite a few years ago, so you should be able to get it fairly cheap. So if you are interested in the role-playing game, I would actually recommend seeing if Netflix or whatever has that movie, and if not, going and see if you can find a bargain bin version of the DVD, because that will give you a very good impression of the setting. But generally, if you like Judge Dredd or those kinds of gritty future settings, you will probably like Mutant Chronicles. Now, as for the rules system, generally I'm a very rules light person, and there are things about the system I like and things about the system I don't like. Let me first get to the things I like. It's very quick. It's a very cinematic system. So, I mean, for me, one of my biggest issues with, for example, Dungeons and Dragons is that a round of combat takes forever, and then I sort of drops out of it. I don't feel that adrenaline for my character because it gets a lot of rolling and calculating and all of that, and then it becomes more of a game than immersing myself in this character in another world. And then I might as well just play a board game or a computer game. So, but Mutant Chronicles very much is quick. Basically, it's one of those systems where you roll dice and you're supposed to get under a certain stat, and so it's very quick, and I like that. Though one of the things I do not like is that the system has very few details. Now, one thing that you should remember, this is a first impressions of the beta test, so that they might add more details later. But for the characters that we got for that adventure, I mean, it sort of works like that. You have categories. I don't remember exactly what all the categories was, but there was the typical, the mental, those. And then you have skills under that, and generally, if you have the skill, let's say, I think it was under intelligence, anyway, that you, for example, have medicine. My character had that. If you have the skill, you roll 2 dice, and you're going to get under what that you have in that stat. So that let's say my character has 12 in intelligence, and she wants to set somebody's broken leg. And she has medicine. Then I roll 2d20, and if one of them gets under 12, I have a success. Now something can then be extremely difficult, in which case you don't get to roll if you don't have the skill, and I lose one of those dice, and of course then don't. You have a lot less chance of succeeding. However, I can pay the GM with giving him dark synergy points, and I will get to that in a moment because that's a pretty neat part of the system to give to get to roll anyway. And I very much like that system because even if it's extremely difficult, I can basically pay and I'll have a lot of dice to roll. And it's almost guaranteed that at least one of them will succeed, and I will succeed in what I'm doing. But then the GM builds up dark synergy, and by that builds up, what should you say, the dark fate of the characters. So yeah. Now my problem with the system is that it's very little detailed. It's very like, you have medicine, it doesn't really matter if you are a chief surgeon or if you have taken a first aid class. You have medicine, you get 2 dice to roll. There's a lot. I prefer systems that have a bit more detail than that. So it seems that I have sacrificed detail for speed. And for combat, since usually I'm not that fond of combat in role-playing games. I mean, I'm one of those artsy-fartsy Vampire the Masquerade players who really like deep role-playing and conversations between the characters rather than combat. I did enjoy the combat in this game, though, because it was so fast-paced. So perhaps they'll get exactly what I wanted with that system, but yeah. Very little detail, but fast. That, I guess, is what I can say about the system. So, let me get to dark synergy. When I first heard about it, I was thinking, one of these indie players have infiltrated our role-playing games and added this shit. But it actually worked far better than I thought. Basically, how this works is that the GM has a bowl. And every time you roll, and for every dice that doesn't get a success, he gets a dice. You can pay him to get extra dice, and he gets points. You can basically anything that goes wrong on your behalf, he gets points. And to activate NPCs, get them to fight, all of the things that happens in the game, the GM has to pay these points. And my first idea was, oh, it's so stupid, because why would you want that? It just will set up the GM as the player's type of scenario. And in most games it would, but it doesn't really work quite like that. Instead, to me, it added to the feel of the game, because if you really felt that dum 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 of TV series when you know that things are building up for the characters. And also, I think it can be a good tool for a lot of inexperienced GMs, because then they sort of see, here I have what I can do. It sort of, and there's a chapter where it actually says examples of what you can do. So I think it will help quite a few GMs to let things randomly happen. However, generally what I liked about the dark synergy system was that feeling that every time you heard that counter fall in the GM's bowl, you knew that sort of the dark, synergy around the characters were building up. And that for everything the character did, fate was moving in on them. Got it added to the mood of the game. So while it is a system that I would normally not like, because I generally, first of all, I hate that concept that a lot of indie players have, where it's like, oh, it's so horrible. The GM can do shit. It's unbalanced. So there should be complete. All role players are equal. You should have equality between the GM and the players. Yada yada yada. No, sorry. In my games, no, the GM is not God, but God is an NPC, and the GM controls the NPCs. So generally, I don't have that. I don't like that concept of the GM vs the players. The GM is there to just provide the background and basically the skeleton of the story and guide it along. And yeah, there is no conflict there. So normally I wouldn't like the idea of the GM having to pay to activate NPCs and so on and so forth. The GM can do in this game. GM can do absolutely jack shit without those points. However, the way it was presented made the system work very well anyway. It made you feel that fate was sort of closing in on you, and that added to the feel of it. So, for my first impressions of this game, and of course keep in mind it's a first impression, I liked it. I really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed it actually a lot more than I thought I would. So I will probably buy the game when it comes out. Whether or not I will support the Kickstarter, I'm not sure. Generally, I'm not a great Kickstarter person. I like to buy things that I will get right away. I mean, by all means, I support the concept of Kickstarters, and that allows a lot of people to produce things that I haven't gotten big investors to do. By all means. However, at the same time, I don't like to buy a product that isn't ready. So I might. I think you get your name in the book if you pay like $5 or something like that. I might do that just to support the game, but I don't think I will be buying the book through the Kickstarter. I haven't decided yet, but will I get the book eventually? Yes. And I definitely want to play the game again. So I got a very good first impressions of the game. It was a lot of fun, and for a fast-paced, dark horror science fiction game, I really liked it, and I do recommend you trying it. So yeah, that was my first impressions of Mutant Chronicles 3rd edition. Hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you would like any more role-playing game reviews and first impressions, please let me know in the comment section. So yeah, have a great day, blessed be.